About a month before its release, The Last of Us 2 had gotten some parts of its story leaked, and of course led to some backlash from the fans, to the point where Troy Baker himself made a video basically saying, play the game, and that the leaks don't do it justice.
Look, if you think that game could be spoiled by a couple screenshots, really, it's a game. You have to experience it. All I'll say about that.
Next thing you know, reviews go up, perfect scores left and right, 10 out of 10s, leaving its Metacritic score at 96. And again, at about 2 weeks before its release, more leaks began to surface, and people lost their minds. While I won't really go into detail about the story in this video, I will say this: my overall opinion is very positive on the story, and I pretty much enjoyed the game. I do not expect everyone to like or love this game, and that's okay. And that's pretty much all I can say without going into details and spoilers that I don't want to ruin for you. But I will say that if you're sitting on the fence about whether or not to play the game because you want to see how it unfolds, I'll encourage you to play it. Because I do believe that if you go into this game with an open mind, you'll see that narratively this game sticks with you. This game definitely has a strong message, and for me, those are the kind of games that I love to play, that I enjoy playing. And moving on, I'd like to get into the non-spoiler section of the game, and of course, that is gameplay. So without further ado, let's get into The Last of Us 2. Gameplay-wise, The Last of Us 2 feels like a huge improvement from the first game. There is now a dedicated dodge button. All movements feel fluid and responsive, whether you're doing stealth, melee, going guns blazing, to platforming. Even the enemy's AI react and feel more real, with different factions and enemy types, different behaviors, giving you this constant feeling of tension. I think the best way to describe this game is if Metal Gear Solid 5 and The Last of Us had a baby and then named it Last of Us 2, because that's basically how this game plays out. This game has a ton of settings and accessibility modes that you can play with, which is a huge step forward from the last game. Why isn't aim assist something you can take off? Unfortunately, this game runs at 30 FPS, which is very daunting and jarring, especially coming from The Last of Us Remastered, which was running at full 60. There also is this weird aim acceleration that's on. And the best way for me to describe it is you almost have to flick the thumbstick to make adjustments, because if you hold it in any direction, it almost makes this like swooping motion. It really makes it feel like it goes from 0 to like 100. What was nice about the accessibility settings is you can fine-tune these settings and change it to your preference without penalty. And they even give you a slow-mo option while aiming that can be toggled on and off. And it just makes these forced shooting engagements a lot more satisfying, especially when you have multiple enemies surrounding you and the only weak spot is the head. You can now toggle slow-mo on and off. And I wouldn't exactly call it a cheat. It's more of something that you prefer, and you should be able to change settings as you want. This is really a good step forward in gaming. Just like the previous game, puzzles are back, and some of them are pretty annoying. See, in the last game, if you found a note with a combination number on it for a safe, you can just walk to that safe and open it. Now in The Last of Us 2, if you find a note with the combination numbers on it, you have to put the combination in yourself. And generally, this is kind of annoying because the numbers can be found in the same room as the safe, making it seem tedious and shallow. Oh, I found the numbers, now I have to find the safe, and now I have to manually input them, and seems more like a time waster, kind of another way for Naughty Dog to just make sure that you're looking through every corner of a room or the map. I wouldn't consider that gameplay, but it's something you have to do, and of course there's a lot of safes, and that's the way you get weapon parts and upgrades and, you know, craftable materials and stuff like that, so you have to do it. Generators are back too, and if you play the first game, they pretty much work the same. You basically hit the triangle button at a specific time and make sure that it's in sync, and you get the generator on. They even added a rope now. And these are kind of cool because it gives you another option of how to traverse the map, and you can be pretty creative with them. And speaking of map layout, Naughty Dog definitely outdid themselves. See, in the first game, a lot of the encounter sections would sometimes leave you with no options. You either get backed into a corner and you probably have to blow your cover or do something that alerts all the enemies because there's no way else to do it. You have no other options. It definitely feels like they took a lot of the criticism of the first game and drastically improved the second game, because now they give you so many options, from being able to attack any way you want, from verticality to slipping under buildings or cars, hiding in the bushes. They give you so many options, again, giving you, the player, control of how you handle these situations. And I have to commend them for that, because this is good game design. And compared to the last game, I felt like there wasn't much choice for me to do. You just go straight forward and it kind of gets boring and feels repetitive. Weapon and character upgrades and even weapon crafting make a return, from upgrading bullet damage, reload speed, to crafting explosive ammo. Again, giving you freedom to tackle situations however you want. And there even is a skill tree, but there is a catch. And this is where I get pretty annoyed, because in order to upgrade your skill tree, you have to unlock it by finding magazines scattered throughout the world. It doesn't matter if you're in a serious shootout, trying to avoid enemies stealthily, or just casually exploring the environment. You should always search every corner of the game, no matter what situation you're in, because there is a chance that you might pass up a lot of stuff. You can probably go throughout the whole game missing one of these magazines and you won't get access to that skill tree. Some of which are really important, would drastically improve the game or make your experience a lot better, and if you pass it up, you miss it. There's no way of finding that unless you probably go back in one of your saves, but even then, who does that? Who does that on their first playthrough? You know, when I played Last of Us 1, I would say that The Last of Us had a really amazing story and narrative, but just terrible and clunky gameplay. Giving it probably like a 7 or a 7.5 out of 10. Now, taking everything into consideration, all the improvements, I do feel that this Last of Us 2 is leaps and bounds of improvement from the first game in terms of gameplay. And the story is pretty decent. I wouldn't call it a 10 out of 10 story. I wouldn't call it a 10 out of 10 game. I think even with the issues that I have with the game and the story, it's still pretty good. I still would probably give it an 8 out of 10 if I had to put a numerical value on the game. And that's just my opinion. I will be making a separate video, a discussion. I wouldn't really call it a spoiler review. I'd say it's more of a discussion on my thoughts and ideas on why I gave it an 8 out of 10, and more so going on to the controversies and the issues that people had with the game. I just want to more discuss and tackle that, other than give you a synopsis, play-by-play, and review, because for the people who beat the game, we don't need to, I don't need to make, you know, a 30-20 minute video synopsis. We can just talk about all the stuff that no one agrees on, or the more contentious topics. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you want to, I don't know, hit some comments, do what you want, take it for what it is, and I'll see you guys in the next video.